Hey everyone, Rob from Southgate Media Group here. Before we get started with this podcast, we have a quick message. If this is your first time checking out the show, we love that you found us and we really hope you enjoy it. What we have to say is for the subscribers. If you enjoy our shows, would you please donate to help keep these going? We don't want to have to put traditional ads on these shows, but this does cost money. So we really do rely heavily on donations. To make a donation to the show, please go to our website, www.southgatemediagroup.com. Go to the page for the show, and in the upper right-hand corner is a donate button. It takes you right to PayPal, and you can donate whatever amount you want. Thanks a lot for listening, everybody. And now on with the show.
Newcastle Crew, welcome back to the Newcastle Crew podcast, a Southgate Media Group podcast dedicated to the NBC show Constantine, starring the fabulous Matt Ryan and the beautiful Angelica Solias, and sometimes featuring the wonderful Harold Perennial. As such was the case in this episode.
I hope that you have some type of adjective to describe me when we get there, but go ahead, Lilith.
Our fearless leader, as you can hear, is once again here to help co-host.
I'll go with fearless. I was hoping for ravishing or something, but that's okay. It's okay.
I wouldn't want Martha to get the wrong idea.
Right.
Not a lady I want on my bad side.
No. Me either.
I am so stoked to talk about this episode 111.
Oh, so am I.
Oh no, whole world out there.
Did you go into the next
I
one?
I just want to get to that one so bad. I don't know why. Well, I know why.
I have not seen that one, so this time we can't jump ahead. We are talking about A Whole World Out There, and
Yeah.
I loved this one.
Definitely. This episode actually had a writing team of Davida Scarlett and Sanaha Corse.
I'm glad I didn't have to say that.
And the director was Thomas J. Wright, a TV director that I'm familiar with through Guess What Show?
Let's see. Would that be Flash or Supernatural or
Supernatural?
Beauty and the Beast or
Definitely Supernatural. And this, I like. Yes, I was like, okay, I'm here for this now. You got my attention.
You know what? There were moments. Okay, I always lay these cards out there. I've only watched one episode of Supernatural. I watched the pilot. Guess what? This reminded me of the pilot of Supernatural. Not in story or anything. Just I finished watching that pilot and I was like, that was awesome. Like I just totally dug the pilot. That's how I felt with this. It had it tweaked the same thing. I was like, this is really cool. Great supernatural stuff going on.
Horror element, but not quite like, what do they call it? Torture porn, horror, like Hostel and stuff. But it was like that classy, this is a spooky story. We got a little bit of gore. Yes. It was very much like the comic book. It was trying to walk that fine line between TV and comic book tone.
Yes.
And I totally dug it.
Yes. And once again, guest stars. Oh! Great guest stars.
Another Lost alum. Yay!
Not just one.
Two!
We had Daniel Faraday and we had Ethan.
I know.
Ethan, I don't see your name on the manifest here. Yeah, that was fantastic. Well, and I also do a podcast about falling skies, and Daniel Faraday is on that too. He's great on that. And I have one thing to say. I think that he must not shower because from Lost to Falling Skies to this, I think he's greasier and more scuzzy looking, which is great.
Jeremy Davis is one of my favorite actors. I best know him from Lost, and of course my other favorite show that we actually don't have a podcast for, but it's okay. It's in this last season, Justified.
Wait a minute.
On Justified.
Did you just say we don't have a podcast for that? Because
we do.
We will. We've already had Jesse. I think it's Jesse and Karen. I think are doing Justified the final season.
Well, they need to come on. It's in the sixth episode. I don't think. Oh yeah.
Oh, you know what? He's been out of the country. I bet they're not doing it.
Oh, that's
That's
a shame. Well, they can
okay.
always do the complete series overview. I don't think there's a Justified podcast out there, so you might tap into a market.
You know what? We will look into that. We will
But
definitely look into
anyway,
it. I'm surprised I didn't know it was already started. That's the problem when you have 50, almost 60 shows. You don't know when things start, when they stop. You just kind of go, okay, what am I doing? You know.
time to get a spreadsheet.
So, but he's on Justified now. One
Well, he
more
has been
reason.
on. He was actually in this last episode, so it was just like a double treat. I was like, "Woo! Double dose
Yeah,
of Jerry."
he's fantastic. You got to
He
watch him on
is.
Falling Skies too. He's got a great character on Falling Skies.
Who does he play? I watch Falling Skies, but for the life of me, I don't really. I only watch it like once, half in the
He's the
bag, because it's 10 o'clock on a Sunday.
he's the scientist that
Oh,
you know who I mean,
yes.
right?
Duh. He's only been like 3 episodes, but yeah.
You know what? 3 episodes, but I still consider him a main character because he was so impactful for what he did and so important to the main characters. That's a show that
He
has
always
such a
plays
big
this
cast.
weird guy.
Yeah, he
Right.
does. But I'm telling you, this one, I looked at him in this and I'm like, wow, I don't think he's shaved or washed or anything in a while. I'm all right with that because the scuzzier he gets, the more interesting he gets. And he's always interesting.
Yes.
But Ethan was in it, and Ethan was creepy and scary.
Poor William Mapother. Like,
Oh.
always typecast as the bad, creepy dude. Always.
With good reason. I mean, as soon as he showed up and he's in the mirror, I'm like, oh, game over. This is going to be a scary episode. He's excellent.
Definitely. Now, I'm glad that the two more veteran actors were people that I was familiar with, because we had 4 kids that I could give a crap less about.
Now, wait,
but-
the girl that survived, did I
Erin
recognize her?
Westbrook.
What is her name?
Her name's Erin Westbrook.
Okay, do I recognize her from something?
I didn't recognize her from anything. She
Well,
seemed like a generic girl in the background on the CW. Like, that's what I was thinking. I was like, was she in a CW show that I used to watch?
You know what? It very well could be that. It could just be that she was some background character in something, and I went like, oh, I recognize her, but she just seemed, oh, man. I'm looking now. She was on Supernatural.
Oh, like I said, background CW chick, right?
Yep, she was Tamara in the Bloodlines episode, whatever that was.
Oh, that was the spinoff. No wonder I didn't watch that.
But she was in Bloodlines also, but she was on the TV show in an episode called Bloodlines. Says.
Oh, yeah. She's definitely like background material.
Yeah, she's background material. She was in that movie In a World, but she's like character number 2 or something in that.
Yeah,
and then she was on Glee. I didn't watch Glee. I'm not a Glee.
I don't watch Glee.
Yeah, but you know what? I think that might be how I recognize her. I might have seen pictures of her because she's in a bunch of episodes, and she just, even looking at her now, she looks very familiar to me.
Mm-hmm. We had some guy named Shamir Anderson as Adam. We had a girl named Skylar Day as Miranda. We had William Campbell as Carter. The young guy that was in constant state of torture from James Shaw was Teddy Cole.
Yeah. Oh, you mean Shaw's son?
Wait, what?
Wasn't that his son? The guy that was constantly tortured?
No, that was his apprentice, I thought they said. He shot him on a hunting trip, that backstory?
Yeah, and his name was Jacob Shaw.
Was it?
Yes.
I totally missed it. That totally covered my head.
Jacob Shaw was William Mapother.
I thought it was James Shaw. Now I don't even know what we're doing.
Yeah, no, he was Jacob Shaw. I'm looking at IMDb here. It does not list, darn it.
It just says young man.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
I see James Shaw on the thing that I'm looking at. That's weird.
Yeah, he said his name, and his last name was Shaw, and it stuck out to me like a sore thumb.
Oh.
And I went, is that his son? Because there was a dropped line when it talked about his assistant or something. And I thought that there was something about a son. And then when he said that line, did you notice the way he said it? It was like all of a sudden Constantine was like, oh. But they didn't make a big enough deal that the audience maybe caught it. But it made me totally think that was his son.
Oh, that's even more gruesome if that is true. That went over my head. I must have totally missed it. But
yeah.
We had John Joe O'Neill, aka Gary Lester, kind of make a little cameo. I kind of liked how we opened this episode.
Yeah, I did too. It didn't have
So yeah,
anything to do with the way the last episode ended, but I did like how it opened.
well, no, it kind of sort of does because we open the episode and we see Constantine commiserating and he's looking at Gary's poor lost soul in the mirror and Manny comes in. Oh, well, no, that's after the cold open. I'll get to the cold open in a second. But
Okay.
Manny shows up and goes, "Hey, get off your pity pot," kind of sort of.
Yeah. You know
and
what?
He goes, Zed's still recuperating medically and Chaz is getting family time. Let me have this.
Yeah, okay. Well, okay. I'm gonna blow something from later in our podcast. I'm gonna tell you my favorite line because it happened right here, but I have to do it because it was so great when he was looking at the mirror and Manny was like, what are you doing? And he goes, "What's the point of having a mirror that shows you the past if you can't wallow in it?"
Yes.
That was the best line of the episode. And this was a great
episode.
The
most Constantine's been in a long time.
It really was. It was so sweet. I loved it. So anyone listening can take this little point and stick it at the end of the episode and go, "Oh, there's his favorite line," because that was.
Well, let's go back to the cold open, which again, another really long cold open, but it totally set up the whole episode, so I'm not gonna fault them for it.
Right.
But it was a little boring, I was like, oh, we're in a graveyard.
Yeah.
Oh, dear goodness. We're doing a ritual.
Yeah. You know what? Do you remember that movie? I think it's called, is it Night of the Creeps? The one with Linnea Quigley when they on Halloween and all the kids go out to the house, they have the seance, and then all of a sudden the demons, Night of the Demons. I think that's the name. You know what I'm talking about?
Not a clue.
Oh, you're not a kid of the 80s. That's the problem.
I'm an 80s baby, but I'm a 90s kid.
Yeah, I was I guess I'm a 60s baby, 68. Yeah, this was a movie that was like all over cable in the 80s, and it's got Linnea Quigley in it, and it's just a great trashy. In fact, I think it was remade. Let's not even talk about that. But it was like 1988 that this thing was made, and it's the same thing. So this opening was Night of the Demons. Only they weren't in Halloween costumes, but it played the same way, and I'm like, oh, that opens up all sorts of problems when you have one of these seances in this creepy house, in this graveyard. I know where this is going.
Yeah, you knew where it was going, but I did like the twist that we were kind of doing astral projection is kind of what it boiled down to.
Yes, that was cool, wasn't it?
Definitely. I like the idea that we're open, this opened up the sandbox even more. We got an actual taste of it. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
And I think that was one of the biggest improvements and aspects of this episode. It was because we saw kind of Annie with the bilocation, but this was legitimate alternate dimension. And DC has such a rich history that they do so well with this particular element. That I was like, yes, I don't mind the corny little college kids. This is good.
Yeah, I'm with you. Once again, it seemed a little rote. I felt the same way when it first started, but as this episode went on, it really got me. There was a lot of interesting stuff going on.
And it set the tone, definitely. I'm like, oh, God, a graveyard and it's spooky. I'm like, what is this, an episode of Buffy?
Yeah, I thought Buffy,
I thought you'd appreciate that.
I totally thought Buffy.
So I was just like, oh, grown. But like I said, once we got into the house and he's talking about it, and once we learned that it was this Egyptian thing, it's like, oh yeah, we're just going across all these cultural elements, and I found it really fascinating. I actually wish we could have got a little bit more in the mythology.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm happy that they gave us so much.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would have liked more, but I was still happy with what they gave us, and it was very Constantine. This is how I view Constantine. This is what I always thought of with Hellblazer. Is he's in the middle of all this stuff. He's involved in it. He's a problem. He's this great character, but all these things are happening kind of around him and happening like he's kind of the crossroads of demons and bizarrety. How do you like that word? You can use that if you want. Hashtag bizarrety.
Seriously?
Yeah. And I'm telling you, this one just really tweaked all of that. It just felt like what I think of when I think of Constant.
Yeah. So after that cold open where we kind of get this glimpse of what the episode's going to be about, they kind of leave the house and it's once you open that door, it's open, especially with the rising darkness. I guess they expect the audience to kind of follow along with that. And I definitely do, because that's the thing that's always going in the background. It's don't do that. The rising darkness is going to open it up even wider.
Right. Yeah, right.
Sure enough. So So after that, and Manny kind of yells at him. He's like, hey, you need to go help. I mean, he was so direct. He set the map on fire, said that's a crutch. You're going to go help Richie, whether you like it or not. And it kind of tickles Constantine's fancy, I guess, is the appropriate way to say it.
Yeah.
That Manny is breaking daddy's rules.
Yeah, he said that with some real, he kind of relished saying that, didn't he?
Like, dude, Constantine corrupts an angel. Like, that's what I mean. That's why I like the Janny relationship.
Yeah,
but on the
he
same
takes
token,
joy in that, right?
it
In
could be
corrupting.
Manny really manipulating the hell out of Constantine. We just still don't know.
Right.
So I like that. Like, I don't know who's being more duplicitous, and I like that. I like being kept on my toes.
Yep, me too.
So off he goes to Richie giving a lecture. I would not even take a class where the professor just has a tape in the microphone.
No, he's the worst.
Oh, the worst.
Yeah.
And so Constantine kind of pops up in it because they're talking about like transcendence and finding peace. And he's like, I had that till you just said something and interrupted it.
Yeah. And then, I like how he's all creepy, making eyes at a college girl, too.
With
All
sunglasses?
Right, yeah. All right, Constantine.
That was a bit much. I was like, she's probably like only like 18.
Yeah, come
It's
on,
like 2
dude.
months older than Zed. Come on, give me a break here.
Right.
So they go back to Richie's office and he's like, hey guys. Richie's like, I thought I told you to stay the hell away from me. And Constantine's like, hey man, Gary's dead. Now, why Richie wouldn't know and Sister Mary Margaret would, I have no idea. I have no rhyme or reason to that.
Yeah, but okay. You know what? Maybe we're nitpicking, so I'll let it go.
Yeah, I let it go, but I was just like, that's weird. And so he asked him about the data mining. He's like, oh, I totally quit. All I do is teach class, go home, pop pills, wash, rinse, repeat. And it's just a really sad thing. And he's on edge because, I mean, it's Constantine. You know you're going to almost probably either come close to death or die.
Yep.
So I would want to help him either, honestly.
Yeah, guaranteed. That's where it's all leading, right?
Oh, you know it. And then he gets that phone call from Adam. And, Richie gets the phone call from Adam, who's his TA, and we see that Carter died thanks to, Jacob Shaw.
Right.
Like, that was creepy and cool.
I loved this Jacob Shaw story. And it was very ghost story. It was different. Because this show could easily fall into the trap of Demon of the Week. But this was something different. This was cool.
Yeah.
And it was Ethan from Lost, which is the best. How about that trick with the mirrors? How when she went into I'm jumping ahead. Oh, it's so cool.
Yeah. I liked when Carter, the first kid that dies, the chubby kid with the curly hair, he's walking, and he comes across the mirror and he sees him and he's in the cowboy hat. And I'm like, what?
Yep.
And he looks back and you see that there's like nothing else but trees and like the quad behind him. He looks back and then all of a sudden he's sucked into back into that world.
Yeah, that was great.
Snuffed out with a plastic bag.
Now,
I was like,
why wouldn't he take his finger and poke a hole in the mouth on that thing?
TV writing.
Yep, because that's the first thing. Now, this is interesting because I'm about to go a little geeky here. I'm just throwing up a warning flag. I was actually listening to a podcast today, and they were talking about this exact thing. How, as humans, it's always been assumed that we will try to defend ourselves or try to get out of a bad situation, And what they found recently is a lot of us just freeze. So to us, we're watching it, and the logical thing is, well, you've got the plastic bag over your face, but his hands were free. Why not poke it into your mouth? I think I would be digging at my mouth to get air.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't lift his hands at all. But then after hearing this podcast about it, it's a podcast called Mysterious Universe, and they talk about UFOs and Bigfoot and all this stuff. I love the show. But that stuck with me. As I was watching it, I was thinking, well, maybe not. Maybe he is reacting the way a human would. Like, you're so panicked and it's so out of the realm of what you know. Think about it. He got sucked into this other world.
Yeah, that's in and of itself a shock. I think that it also kind of goes along with the theory of like, when you see an accident, a lot of people are always like some people die at accidents because nobody actually called 911. Everybody was just screaming to do it because it's this panic.
Right.
Yeah.
So once again, just interesting that came up, and my initial reaction was, why did he poke a hole in that? But then I started thinking about that podcast. It's like, yeah, I wonder if that was actually not TV writing, but maybe a little bit more accurate to what would happen.
Well, I'll give this new writing team the benefit of the doubt and say maybe they did a little research.
Okay.
So after
I'll give it to them too.
So, and Adam's like, oh, he's like, yeah, I can't do my office hours. And so Constantine's just like, okay, whatever. And then they go, like, things escalated really quickly in this episode, by the way.
Yeah, they did.
So, they go to they go to try to see the Carter's corpse at the campus, but the cops are like, no, you gotta go. But he gets the notebook.
Yeah.
And gets that little critical piece of information that he died of sudden lack of circulation. But like how is that possible? He was just walking around. So that's your first clue, Constantine.
Yep.
And then they head to the campus service for Carter, and then we meet Lily and Miranda, and Miranda is trying to go, hey, they're trying to make sense of it. She's like, no, Lily, ever the skeptical chick. She's like, no, it was mass hysteria. I just learned about it.
Right. Yeah, she was destined to die. It's how I
thought they were all gonna die. Honestly, I was kind of bummed that they all didn't die.
No, I didn't think the one chick was gonna die because you've always got to have the last girl.
See, that's what I mean. That's what Constantine should do the unexpected. Like, you can't save everybody. Yeah, is the point.
But that on network TV, I can't imagine that they wouldn't have a last girl. I cannot imagine it. So I was fully believing she's going to make it this thing.
But yeah, so then she blows her off and she's trying to call Miranda's trying to call her boyfriend Adam. And then Constantine and Richie kind of ask her. And, she mentions Adam's project and Richie gets a little shaky, like, hey, ixnay on the project. And,
right.
And Constantine picks up on it like that, And so he figures that Lily and Richie are both hiding something, and they go to the cemetery to check out a mausoleum. And Manny shows up.
Yep. There's Manny.
Yep. And he goes, hey, man, you need to get Richie on our side. He seems like he could really be a great help. And I'm like, dang, Manny, you're all up in the mix all of a sudden. Yep. I don't know.
Yep. He's on. He's there.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And so then John performs the ritual and the glyphs appear and he figures out what the spell was that they used. Meanwhile, stupid Miranda goes to practice her dance to clear her head in a dark dance room. Who does that? Right. She did not turn the light on. Are you serious?
You know who does that?
Lunch meat?
Somebody in a horror movie.
Lunch meat? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, lunch meat. Yeah, exactly.
And so she's doing her little pirouettes and whatnot. And, we see Shaw, but she doesn't see him. And she's still doing it, spinning. She finally catches a glimpse, looks. It's too late. He sucks her into the world and stabs her with what looks like rebarb.
Yeah, what was up with that?
Like, what?
Yep. I totally thought the same thing. I'm like, did she have rebar sticking out of her? She did.
Explosion? Is this Arrow season 1 finale? Like, don't. But anyway, it makes for interesting visual, I guess, is the point of that.
But it didn't make sense. We didn't see her get stabbed with it or anything. It just was there.
Well, later on, we learned that it's his reality and he can conjure up whatever he wants. Yeah. But it totally didn't make sense.
It totally didn't make sense. But you know what? The other thing is we saw, this was the other thing that stood out to me. It seemed like he liked to use knives. So why did he do it with rebar?
He was a sick, twisted individual. Who knows? Yeah.
You're right. Maybe that's the real point. We're not supposed to relate and understand.
And if you do, you might want to tone that down. Constantine goes back to Richie's office and tells him what he found, and then he explains, what he thinks happened, which was what happened. They have performed the Egyptian dream ritual.
Yep.
Because of the journal that Adam took from Richie's office.
Yeah, like I said, I dug all this. I thought this was cool.
Yeah, and so they give us the backstory behind Jacob Shaw, and so they go, okay, we got to stop him. And then Lily's back in Adam's room, and they're like, man, what happened to Carter was messed up. And we see her get a glimpse. We saw her get a glimpse of Jacob Shaw in the mirror earlier, right after Carter died. And Adam wants to go find Lily, but not the way that Miranda wants.
Yeah.
No, not the way that he wants to go find Miranda, but not the way that Lily wants. He wants to go back into the dream state, and she wants to go to the dance studio. So they split up.
Yep.
Never a good idea.
Yep.
So, and then we
once again, it was very much like an 80s horror movie.
It was an episode of Scooby-Doo is what it was.
Scooby-Doo.
This is what they sometimes when they split up and do dumb stuff, I'm just like, ruh-roh.
Did they make a Scooby reference in this?
I don't think so.
I must be spacing out, or maybe it was in another They did it in either this episode or the last episode. There was a small Scooby-Doo reference.
I think it was the last episode.
Okay. Well, that's too
Might
bad,
have been
because
from-
this would have been a good place for it, because this totally was Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, it's like, oh dear goodness, Velma gets stuck with Shaggy and Scooby.
Yeah.
So she and then they kind of Constantine and Richie kind of head across campus, and they see that the gate is open, and they're like, oh crap. They kind of figure out that the gate that they opened with the dream ritual is open, the rising darkness. They start talking about that.
Yep.
And then Richie explains in just layman's terms. I mean, the most basic of basic layman terms about the singularity. And Constantine, of course. I was like, yeah, that is the idiot's version. Good call, Richie.
Yeah, right.
I really enjoyed that conversation. So anyway, then they go to find the TA and they find him, and he's in that catatonic state, and he starts bleeding.
Right.
But right then we cut to Lily, who finds Miranda lying on the floor bleeding with. Well,
Okay, I didn't see that. Did they show that? I saw her go in there, but I must have blanked out. I did not see her find Miranda.
I don't think they actually showed it. They just showed her screaming.
Okay, because I thought that was weird. I was like, she made a reference to it, and I thought, did I miss something? So maybe.
Yeah, they just showed her screaming. Because then we cut to where they're in the in Jacob Shaw's reality, and she's still bleeding and stuff.
Okay, so
they didn't show her land on the floor in the pool of blood. They cut to the alternate world.
Okay, that's making more sense to me now.
I mean, I guess we got to be careful with the blood budget.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? Studios are weird about that too.
Yeah, especially since now it's at the 8:00. This felt like they kind of recut around the edges a little bit. I don't know if you noticed it.
I did. I thought the same thing.
And I said, maybe we did from 10 to 8. Yeah, you would almost have to.
I'll give you a little insight, which may not be insight to you, but it might be to others. I had a friend that got cast to play. Do you remember the show Unsolved Mysteries?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So he was cast to play a guy who was an actual, like, a serial killer that, make a long story short, the guy was supposed to run out of this cornfield, and he has just killed people, and he was covered in blood. But he said, you know what, it's 8:00 on a Friday or whatever, so they toned it way down. So they just had a little bit on the knife and a little bit on his hands, and he was supposed to run out of the cornfield. And he said the studio kept making them redo it. Less blood, less this. And finally they were like, you know what, he looks too menacing. Now keep in mind, this is a serial killer, right? They made him, they're like, we need you to be menacing, but smile. Kind of like, you wouldn't be such a bad guy.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That reminds me of that time that America's Most Wanted cast Antonio Sabato Jr. in one of their reenactments to be one of the suave serial killers that was killing his wives.
Okay.
That's what that reminds me of. But yeah, studios, man.
Yeah. So that when you said that about, like, maybe they toned it down. Yeah. Probably. Yeah. Somebody probably saw it and went, this is a little too much. We got to tone this down here.
Yeah, especially since we got the cool chopped off hand scene. I definitely think that it was a give and trade situation. Like, we absolutely need to have the chopped off hands. So something else has got to give.
Yeah, the chopped off hands were pretty cool.
So yeah, the next day,
so funny.
EMTs take Miranda's body out, and Richie's like talking to the campus cops, and they're like, Constantine's like, hey man, we're like one more dead body short of the university shutting down. And that's when Richie starts throwing his pity pot party.
Yep.
And, then he kind of tells Constantine that, hey, we're both cancer. Look at what we do to people's lives.
Right.
We got to save Lily. Like, we need some redemption. We got to go save her. So
yeah.
Off they go.
Go.
I don't know how I feel about my professor showing up at my dorm, just unannounced.
Not just that. So you've got the professor showing up that way,
and his friend.
I was going to say, who's this Constantine guy?
Rumpled and dirty and disheveled.
And like coming in and like, yeah, right. And I'm sure there's got to be like some BO going on. And you're like, look at my professor, Mr. Unwashed, with his dirty scuzzboy friend.
Exactly.
And they're showing up giving me advice about our friend getting killed. What's going on here?
Yeah.
And like spewing crazy stories. And that's the other thing. Did she seem like shocked by the crazy story?
All.
She seemed more like, okay, well, then we got to do something. Like, once again, Scooby-Doo.
What it was is I think that she was shocked of having both of her friends killed. And then they tell her that Adam's dead too. So it's like that whole shock. And she's like, I don't think she was able really to process much in this episode. I mean, There was no time. So, sometimes when people are in shock, they have to go along to get along.
Okay.
in TV writing anyway.
Right.
Sometimes in life, but mostly in TV writing. But we go cut to the other world, and Adam's pulling the metal out of Miranda's side, and Carter joins them, the young guy.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, the chubby kid with the curly hair. He's
Yeah,
like, well,
I couldn't remember his name. Yeah, I think it was Carter.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, Shaw wants us here, and then he's in the basement, and he welcomes them, and he's like, this is my house, and this is how it's going down. And that was creepy. He was so menacing.
Yeah. Yeah, I told you I loved him.
So Miranda and Carter run out, and Adam, I don't know why. He's just like, hey, you can't hurt me. And Shaw's like, oh, honey. And takes the sledgehammer, and we didn't get to see him get hobbled, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I guess another cut and trade. I don't know. Then Constantine takes Lily and Richie to the mill house. Of course, Richie's kind of infatuated.
No, wait. I want to go back before you go on. I'm kind of, there was so much that happened in this. It seems like as you're giving this description, I'm kind of like processing. I want to stop there for a second. When he got hobbled, I thought the same thing, like, okay, they cut it. They didn't want to show it or budget or whatever. But what's interesting is what happens right after it when she comes in the room and sees him standing there, and he says, this is a game. This is what's going to happen. You die, you come back. I actually think that maybe you don't see anything. He gets hit, and instantly, boom! Like it's almost like a reset on a video game.
I like that idea.
So maybe I'm giving him more credit, but
you wouldn't die from getting your knees hobbled.
Yeah, but maybe it's that infliction. Maybe it's not even dying. It's wham, boom, it restarts. Like anytime he does something to torture them, it restarts. Although that doesn't make sense because she had the rebar sticking out of her.
Yeah.
So, but what's up with the guy with his hands cut off? Like, he must have opted to have his hands cut off to scare him, or
that's what I mean. Like, they didn't really explain it seemed like the young guy was almost setting them up.
I'm telling you, that young guy was her son. I'm telling you, that young guy is his son.
It got lost in translation for me, but I'll take your word for it.
Yeah,
I've only seen this episode twice. Like, the first time it was rough for me to get through. Like I said, like I just was kind of groaning, and then the second time I was like, okay, now that I know what's gonna happen, I can kind of just relax.
That's funny that you were groaning because I loved this episode. But I was a big fan of those 80s horror movies. Yeah, but I was a big fan of that. So every time it turned around, I'm like, oh, this is that scene from Scream. Oh, here's the scene from Magic. Here's the scene from like I said, Night of the Demons. I just kind of dug all that. It was tweaking all those little things.
I don't like rehashes.
I didn't feel it was rehashing. It did a little bit. The beginning felt like a little bit of a rehash.
Yeah, that's why I was groaning. So you set the tone with that, and I'm just like, you lose me for a little bit.
Yeah, I can see that. But I actually was in on it. I enjoyed it.
I guess I like the premise. When we got down to the mythology of the episode, I liked it.
Yes, the mythology really made it.
Definitely. So they're like, he explains that Jasper warded all the mirrors, but guess what? That cell phone's not warded, and Shaw yanks her through.
Yeah.
Makes you want to just kind of put your cell phone in a drawer and close it.
Yep.
So she's in the house, and Shaw is standing over the balcony with like the sledgehammer smiling.
Yep.
And like Lily's trying to run to the door. Of course, she opens it, and there's like this barren landscape.
Yeah, it was kind of, you know what? Okay, we're not going to get into that. Reminded me of Beetlejuice, talking about
one of the 80s movies that I do happen to love. No, that's 90s.
Is that 90s? Whatever. But it reminded me, remember when they open the door and there's the barren land and the big worms?
Yep.
I'm like watching that going, oh, it's Beetlejuice. And then when the flowers happen, we'll get there. It was What Dreams May Come.
Yes! Actually, one of my favorite series, Robin Williams.
But
although nobody else likes it.
Well, apparently somebody did because they wrote it into this show. If this show every week did this rehash thing, I wouldn't be as down with it. It was this one particular one, I enjoyed it.
But it made sense.
Yeah. And the kids dying at the campus was Scream 2.
Yeah, definitely.
Or Urban Legend. Which is terrible.
Same difference, really, honestly.
Oh, no. Scream is better than
Oh,
Urban
definitely.
Legend.
But the premise, it's...
Oh, Urban Legend was so bad. And then the sequels got even worse. And
Right?
it had the
Yeah.
Noxzema girl. Remember how she was popular for 10 minutes?
She is not just the Noxzema. No, wait.
You know,
Yeah, she is just. Thinking about the other Noxzema girl that went on to do Felicity.
she's the Noxzema girl because you remember as the Noxzema girl. See?
Yes, exactly. But so this is really funny. So she runs in and she barricades the door, and Adam's there, and he's like, "You have to go back before Shaw kills you. He's just gonna keep bringing you back again and again and again." And I'm just like, okay,
A little
yeah,
grumble.
I hope so. I want to see this chick get. I want to see a new method of torture here.
Yeah. Yep.
That's all. So then back at the mill house in our reality, Constantine's preparing the ritual, and Richie's like, I can't, he's like, Richie, I can't do this without you. You have to come in with me. You understand all this stuff. But they go, hey, there's this one catch. When we go there, we're going to be separate from each other. So we have to find each other.
We have to find. This was clever too, because I was thinking the same thing when the kids first went there. I at first didn't realize they were in the same house. I thought they were getting taken to, like a similar nightmare, but not necessarily the same house. Now we know they're just put in different rooms. And I liked that little bit when he said that. He made the plan before they went in, because let's face it, somebody's going to die if they didn't have a plan.
Mm-hmm.
So that was good.
Yeah. I think that's the first real bit of planning I've seen Constantine do this whole damn season. Other than just grab up magical wards and stuff, he actually had a plan.
He did, right.
So he goes, Richie's like, hey, Shaw is God in this domain. He goes, wouldn't be the first God that I've had to deal with. I love that line.
Yes.
It's true and it's funny.
Right.
Then they perform the ritual and they get in there and they're separate. And then Richie's in the kitchen and he's investigating. He turns off the stove. Why he would turn the stove off, I don't know. But then we kind of see the lurker in the shadows, and then we see Constantine, who is creeping up behind Richie, and the classic, oh, hey, watch it, guys. What you?
Right. Once again, 80s horror movie.
Exactly.
Monster in the closet. There he is.
Constantine and Richie then kind of find themselves in a dead end. Now, this is where the cool really kicks in the episode.
Okay.
Richie overwrites this plane of existence. And makes a door.
Fantastic.
Didn't see
Fantastic. When they hit that dead end and Constantine started to walk out and then Richie says that, to me, I agree. That's where the cool kicked in. Like, I just went like, oh, what a great idea.
This episode just got turned on its head.
It did. And it worked so well for me at that moment. Yeah, I was down with that. That was really cool.
What's even better is that Shaw was watching them from the shadows and he saw it. And he's like,
Yep. Like, they figured something out here. Because up until this point, Shaw has been the master of his domain. Even though the one guy was smart enough, the guy that got hobbled, was smart enough to say, you can't kill me in this reality. Okay? So he did have something on Shaw, and Shaw was impressed by that, but this was a whole other level.
Definitely.
And I'm sure that guy learned it from Richie, because Richie's been talking about this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Really.
See, that's the thing.
Man, really
you know what it reminded me of a little bit? Isn't it Rounders, where they're bringing people back from the dead? But they kind of stole that idea from one of their friends or whatever.
Yes.
That's what that kind of felt like. But it's a classic trope. Like, oh, I admire my professor so much and he dabbles in the dark arts, doesn't think I know. Ha ha ha. I'm going to go steal something and do something cool.
Right.
So they step through the room with the cloth-covered furniture. And that's when the young man shows up. And he's like, Constantine figures out the same thing that I've been saying. Like, is this dude here to help them or not? And obviously, at this point, we learned that he was there to trick them, because he backs away. He was trying to lure them, and he backs away, and he's smiling and laughing about it.
Yeah.
And that's when Shaw comes in. And again, he says, I kill my own creations. You know?
And the kid faded into the background on this. He's still out there. So no matter what happened to Shaw, if we're talking an arc for the series, that Shaw, the one that I say is Shaw's kid, is still there in that space.
But I thought when the house blew up, every entity in the house blew up.
How do we know that kid was still in the house?
I thought nobody. Well, yeah, if he's connected to Shaw and he was just like a helper and not an actual victim,
right?
That's quite possible,
right? Because Shaw could make. Remember, Richie said, "I can make this whatever I want. I can create whatever." Well, we know that he could actually control things within the house too. So who's to say that he could let the sunlight in and create all this, and that kid is still there, able to control his own thing?
That would be a pretty cool twist. Like, we go back and we have to get, like, that's a cool way to bring Richie back.
Right.
because this is his area of expertise now.
Yeah, and bring Richie back.
They almost have to.
And you know what? While you're at it, figure out a way to bring Shaw back, because Ethan from Lost is awesome.
I'm pretty sure
I'm pretty sure he's dead.
Yeah, but that like in a show like this, it never means anything. He could have got sucked into an alternate dimension.
That's right. No, what you have is like in the last episode, you'll have some seance, and all of a sudden this demon will go, Constantine.
Is that you, Constantine?
Like,
that
Shaw?
would be great.
Yeah.
That would be great.
And it'd just be one of those like, Shaw? Like, oh, I haven't forgotten about you.
And to be continued.
Yeah.
So then, Shaw's like, hey, who the hell are you guys? And, the students, he talks about how the students invaded his space and now they have to pay for it. And Richie's like, dude, you ain't nothing but a low budget psychopath. And he tries to cut Richie's wrist wide open, and then he pins Constantine to the wall with nails. But like for Constantine, he knows that's kind of mind over matter, and that Richie is gonna come through for him. So he kind of just pushes through it, and he tells Richie, "Hey man, I believe in you." And Richie turned that reality out.
Yes.
So it was really cool. Shaw got his comeuppance.
Yeah. I mean, I can't say anything more because I just really enjoyed how all of that went down. And even the "what dreams may come" obvious reference, I just dug the whole thing.
I like how he goes, I see that you didn't let the sun come up. We got to change all that.
Right.
That was like, it was so corny that it was good. Do you know what I mean?
It was great. And then the way you saw the flowers and everything like roll out. Yeah. It was kind of like the Genesis planet in Star Trek 2.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, no, we're not talking Star Trek.
Yeah, don't even get me started.
Don't even get me started on Star Trek.
Movie. But then we still have a bit of business to finish up with the students. Lily goes to see her friends and they're like, you got to get out of here. Once this thing blinks out of existence, we're gone too. You're alive. Go live your life.
Yeah.
And they were all kind of resolute to that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I do feel like, maybe some kind of way their souls got sucked into heaven or something like that. Like maybe, you know what I mean?
You mean
I don't know, the way that they made it seem like they were if you know anything about the mythology of Constantine and there is a heaven and a hell and an actual like Lucifer and stuff because Vertigo got integrated into DC. So
yes. So yeah, it is, and it also the idea of them being stuck there in limbo because of Shaw's actions seems a little weird, and they certainly wouldn't go to hell. Shaw would, but they wouldn't. So that's I didn't think about that. That was one I wasn't paying attention to.
Yeah, I think like and very rightfully, I think that Constantine needs to step clear of a lot of the religious stuff because that's one of the biggest mistakes that Supernatural has made and really ticked people off with their portrayal of Lucifer and all this other stuff. So I think that Constantine, it kind of skirts around the edges of it, even though in and of its own mythology in the comic books, it's very heavily involved.
Yes.
But so Lily wakes up and finds herself back in her body at the mill house, and but Richie and Constantine are still there, and like Richie wants to stay, and I thought that actually would have been a really great way for Richie's story to end. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if all was said and done, and we like Constantine like feels guilty or needs him, and he has to go back and pull him out. I felt like this was the perfect place to leave Richie in limbo. He's safe. We don't have to worry about him.
Right. And I thought he was going to stay. Actually,
I really did.
And
I think that was good.
Well, and even up to the point where when he was sitting there and it looked like, oh, he might come, he might not. I thought they were going to twist it and not have him come back.
Yeah. See, it was a double twist.
Yeah. So that was good.
Yeah, I definitely like that. So I like the conversation. He's like, you're going to end up like Shaw. You can't stay here. But Constantine's like, okay, I'm going to trust you and I'm going to wake up. And like, he's literally almost biting his nails, waiting for Richie to wake up. And I thought that was pretty cool.
I did.
So later at the university, Richie we cut back to Richie and he's like starting to be a good professor. He puts away his tape player and he actually wants to talk about the truths of life and death. And then, of course, Lily's there to look on. And I believe we cut back to the mill house and, again, Constantine's still drinking, toasting to that past reflection of his friend. So it's a bookend, apparently. Yep. What a weird way to end the episode. That could have used a monologue, personally, for me.
Yeah, well, I think that, just like we talked about in the last episode, I think that we're getting to the ends of these episodes, and I I don't know if they're falling flat. I don't know if they're thinking they're laying groundwork for something that we're not privy to yet. I just don't know.
Hmm.
I just don't know. But as much as this was a roller coaster, yeah, the ending didn't really get me.
Yeah, I
It's all
definitely
right.
think the motto for Constantine Writers Room should be "When in doubt, put a monologue at the end."
All right.
There
And,
you go.
and possibly have Manny show up.
Oh, always, always. Even if it's just a quick minute, give
Oh,
him something to chastise John about. That
that's
always
all
works.
you need. Yep, I agree. Throw
Yeah,
that in
this,
and I'm done.
like I said, I think the mythology was the best thing about this episode for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
Um, let's talk about. Did you you probably didn't notice any Easter eggs, did you?
Whew, other than all the 80s movie references that I've brought up, I know
But
that,
I think they were hoping nobody would notice.
well, I know that, yeah, that's all I noticed. But there was something, and I'm trying to remember what it was because I read a review of the episode right after it aired, before I mean, we're talking a couple weeks ago before I even saw it. And they were talking about Easter eggs in this episode, and I can't remember. I think there's a big one, isn't there? Or is this not the
Um,
episode?
I think you're talking about Angels of Minister and Grace.
Is that what it is? Because is there a big one in there?
Uh,
Was there a
there's no such
Flash?
thing as big six.
Was there a Flash one in this?
No, that's Angels.
Okay, so that's that episode. Okay.
Yeah. Actually, I didn't really find any Easter eggs for this episode.
So here I said I thought there was a big one, and there are none. Well played, Rob.
I'm trying to think. No, there actually wasn't. This was a pretty just straightforward, out of the brainchild of the writers' room.
All right.
So yeah. Um, what about the grade?
I'm going. Oh, I usually don't get stumped. I'm going A minus. I think we got into the A area, and I think a lot of it had to do with the fun of the episode, the creativity, the twist that I really was going along for the ride with, and the guest stars were fantastic. If I start thinking about the four kids, we drop back down to like a B minus.
See, obviously Richie, and James Shaw, William Moffat III. I hate saying his name out loud, but anyway, I think that they saved the episode, but it's still just a C plus for me because it did feel
Wow.
so cliche and corny for me. I'm just like, I feel like I've seen this before.
I
But
can't.
and the mythology saved it, but like the actual constructions of the scenes and the setting and the mood, it just, I don't know, it just was cliche and corny to me.
That's funny. I can't believe we're so off on that because maybe it's just I had more fun with this episode. I just really had fun with it. But I was rolling my eyes at the scenes with the four kids.
Yeah, it's no offense, just it's not what I come to Constantine for. Like this felt like if anything, this felt like a CW episode of Constantine. I'll put it that way, with the kids having to be involved. Got to get those young hot bodies in there. Come on,
Right.
that's what it felt like. I was just like, I don't like this. Bring Zed back. That's the only hot young body we need. Honestly, I
Yeah.
guess we could afford to pay for William Moffat III and freaking Jeremy Davies and have Zed in that episode. Just too much to ask. We got to get some day players in here.
Yeah. And they did.
Definitely. But,
They
you
did.
know, they tried it.
Well, you know what? And the more I'm saying this stuff about those day players, the more I'm slipping back out of the A range and into the B plus range.
Nope, too late.
But
Too late.
but I know I'm sticking with A minus because I really truly did enjoy our guest stars. I thought they were just great, and I think that they were utilized well. I thought that here's the interesting thing: as much as I enjoy Constantine every episode, he didn't do a heck of a lot in this one. He actually got to kind of take a back seat, and that's not a slam against him. It was that those characters were so strong, it allowed your main character to kind of move to the background a little bit and just kind of like, okay, I'm going to move things along here. I'm your tour guide of what's going on, but I'm not the story.
You know what? Now that you bring that up, because I love Constantine so much, that might be what really kind of rubbed me the wrong way about this episode.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I love Matt Ryan. I don't think he deserves to take a backseat unless it's Harold P. So
Okay.
and even then they work well together. He never takes the backseat. I think that's what this was the first time that Constantine took a backseat in an episode, and it threw me. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for nailing that out.
Yeah, I think you know what. Yeah, I'm sticking with my review. I'm not one that goes back on it, but I this one I think it's going to take another watching.
Good luck with that.
Uh-oh.
Scene of the night for you.
Scene of the night. Wow. I actually think, how do I call it a scene? I think it was just when John and Faraday, I'm going lost here. When John and Richie, and this is going to seem stupid, it was when they were in the dead end and he did the trick to make the door appear. That to me just lit up the episode.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like a dumb favorite scene, but that's
no, that's a pivotal part of the episode. Like that's the when the episode got real moment.
Yeah. So how about you?
I think it's when John and Richie are out in the What Dreams May Come field, and he's telling him that he needs to come back with him. That he'll end up like Shaw. He needs him out there in the real world with him fighting the good fight.
Yeah.
Because he was vulnerable. And like I said, we don't see vulnerable Constantine.
True.
And I
True.
believed him. It might be for his own selfish reasons, but he, it's a good reason nonetheless.
Well, and it was good dialogue. It was an interesting visual going on. I mean, there's a lot going on there that I enjoyed. So yeah, I'm with you on that one. That was a good scene too. Certainly flashier than two people standing in a dead end closet.
But no, when the closet morphs, no, I totally get it.
Yeah, it was too cool.
Oh, did you know that there was music in this episode?
Okay, I did not take note of the music, but I am definitely in line with Richie's musical tastes. So seeing in the background, seeing his Sex Pistols stuff, his Johnny Rotten stuff, I'm looking around his office like, where's all my 70s and 80s punk music? Because that's the stuff I love.
Me too, which is why I wanted Constantine to be so much more. Like they started, and then I guess they couldn't get the rights to the good stuff.
You know what? And even if you're not doing, well, Constantine is going to go more for like UK punk, but
yeah.
You know what? He's in America. Let's get some Ramones. Let's get some Husker Du. Let's get that stuff that's like on the verge of punk. Give me some.
We did have Ramones.
Give me some Pixies.
Earlier.
But we had. Okay, you know what? What Ramones song can we use? Some guy in a suit goes, "Let's use I Want to Be Sedated."
Knows.
Yeah,
everybody knows. I was so annoyed about that.
I would there's a much deeper catalog I would rather see him pull from. And like, let's hear some Pixies in there. Let's hear, or let's go even. Really...
I don't know about the rights to that though. You know, I remember one of my favorite shows to this day, I believe, isn't on DVD because of the musical selection that they used, which is Crossing Jordan. They had a great soundtrack, and it held up DVDs, and I don't think they ever really resolved that. And when you watch a show like that on Netflix and they change the music, it really does change the scene sometimes.
Oh.
Like for Supernatural, they don't use any of the music from the original broadcast, and it throws me every time I have to watch Supernatural on Netflix.
Oh, that's
why I don't do it. I watch it on DVD.
That's interesting. Yeah, because
I think they have to be careful about what they use. You know, most shows ever since that whole writer's strike and all that other stuff.
Yeah, well, and you also have to time it out too when you're putting that music in, because I have noticed certain shows will use a popular song, but there's no dialogue anywhere near that song. Mm-hmm. So they obviously lift it out and put something cost effective or generic in there instead. So I wonder if that's what's going on here. Wow.
But the song was Keep Me in Your Heart by Warren Zevon, and it's when he's drinking at the Mill House. I was just
yeah, what a great song. I forgot that was in this.
I didn't expect that from Constantine.
Yeah, and you know what's great? That it wasn't Werewolves of London. I love that song, but if anyone uses Zevon, that's what they use.
Yeah.
That was great.
That's my one bit of trivia, I guess, since this episode didn't have Easter eggs.
Yeah. No Dr. Fate in this one, huh?
Yeah, I mean, we had a lot of guest stars to pay, so I get it. Gotta pay
I think
a little,
there were more.
The
Easter eggs were more horror movies and the fact that Losties showed up.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're like, this is already overpowering. We don't need anything else.
Right. I just wish that he had like a Dharma jacket on or something at one point, like on his sleeve. A little
jumpsuit. He gets into like the VW van.
Yeah. Because wouldn't Richie drive that VW van? That would have been great.
Dude, if this would have been on ABC, we could have had like, what was the name of that band?
Oh, you mean
Jackson something?
The one from Lost?
Yeah, the one they made up, and everybody got into that great big debate. No, it's a real band. They made it up for Lost, and like to see
please.
That would have been great.
We Are Everyone, wasn't that the song?
You All Everybody.
You All Everybody.
That would have been great.
If he had a bottle of McCutcheon's sitting on his desk.
This isn't Once Upon a Time.
Yep, yeah, but McCutcheon's
I
is
know.
the alcohol
Oh, yeah, I
that
know.
Penny's dad drank, and we always look for McCutcheon's, and we always look for the cigarettes that the cigarette smoking man smoked. Morley's.
Yep.
Keep your eye open for Morley's.
Oh, God. What was? Oh, well, you already kind of said your favorite line, but do you have another one?
Yep. What's the point of having a mirror that shows you the past if you can't wallow in it? God, what a great line. It's just great.
As usual, my favorite line comes from Constantine. Well, you know me. I'm well versed in the art of pretending to be a gentleman.
Yeah. You know what? That was a great line too. Good call.
Oh yeah, we got Alice. I guess this I'm really squeezing the oil out for an Easter egg, but we got a through the looking glass reference when he says, "Looks like Alice already slipped through the looking glass" when they found Adam.
Yep, I caught that one too. I liked that.
I hate that reference. Can we do away with that reference? Is there not a better book with alternate realities that we can use? But it's like when people use Back to the Future references for time travel. There's so many other time travel movies.
But I don't have a problem with it here because this one specifically had the mirror bit through it.
Very true.
So I can give it that. But yes, it's cliche. It's overused. Same thing with Back to the Future. Overused.
And I love that movie to this day, but it's
me
just
too.
Like,
but how about
everybody uses it? Can we get a Ted and Bill's Bogus Adventure reference?
How about Quantum Leap?
We do get a few of those every now and then.
Oh, you rarely hear anything Quantum Leap, and that's one that I would think you would get every once in a while. That one, Bill and Ted's, sure. I would be down with that. Give me a Looper. Give me a Looper reference.
Too new.
No, not for me.
Let's see. Favorite moment?
Favorite moment. You know what I think it was the reveal of Shaw. Because when he was first when it was revealed who it was, when we first saw him in the shadows, I was like, okay, this is kind of fun. When we saw his face, I actually was like, whoa, it's Ethan.
Literally, me too.
Yep. So I'm going to say that was my favorite moment because, I watch a lot of shows. I don't usually yell something out or go like, oh yeah. And it would have been Richie, but I didn't react as violently. That I was really excited.
He had shown up before too, though.
Yeah, but Ethan, I was like, heck yeah, it's him. And he was creepy, and he was totally Ethan. So I don't see him on the manifest.
I think my favorite moment, I don't know, like it's this. I watch a lot of TV, especially aimed at the very specifically at the cost-effective demo, 18 to 24, and TV has this love-hate relationship with cell phones, especially because, you can watch TV on it and they're not quite able to get the views from it and stuff like that. Like they're still working on all the details. And so a lot of TV shows that I watch throw shade at cell phones, right? And so this one did too, because he's like, I've got all the mirrors worded into place. It's just like, I just got to call my mom. Yoink.
Yep. Yep.
So every time I see a TV show kind of throw shade the best they can at a cell phone, it just makes me laugh.
Yeah. Yep, that was the troublemaker. Kids, don't get cell phones. They cause trouble.
Be in the moment is because, I do know a ton of kids that can't be standing in a Starbucks line without their phone or a tablet. Sure. Entertain me, damn it. Please don't ever let Molly get like that.
No, don't worry about it.
I hate those little kids. They're monsters.
No, you know what? She has friends that are like that already at this age. And she seems almost like a freak because we don't do that with her. She gets her time with it. But you know what? We figure if you've got your face buried in that, you're missing life.
Exactly. And I do agree with that. Like the minute I come home from work, I tablet, phone, everything gone.
Not me, but
can't. You've got way too many people.
No, that's exactly it. It's like I'm attached to it. We take her to Taekwondo, and like I have to sit there on it some nights, and I apologize a lot. I'm like, if I'm not looking at this, I've got 40 questions that came in.
Mm-hmm. I totally get it, but I agree. That kids in that demo, they do need to. I mean, it's not drunk driving anymore. It's texting and driving.
It is.
I mean,
we see that.
I do get that
time.
point.
Yeah.
I'm like right at the cusp where I can do with it or do without it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I grew up playing Nintendo and riding my bike outside. So.
Yep.
But I still have an Xbox and an iPad.
Me too. I love technology. I love the gadgets. I love all that stuff. But I certainly know I need to turn it off and read a book or go outside and take a walk or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah. A lot of kids don't do that.
I like that. I like that message a little bit. I don't know if it's just me being me, but I like that.
All right.
Best.
But if you're going to go
No.
out for a walk, take your iPad and listen to these podcasts.
Well, take
There
your
you go.
iPod
And listen to these podcasts.
Great for walking around. Definitely great walking around podcast.
Right.
Character of the night or your MVP?
You know what? You're going to be surprised because you'd think I'd say Shaw after all my Shaw love, but it was Richie. Richie owned it, man.
That's okay. I got you covered. Shaw was mine.
There you go.
I like the creepy, menacing presence that he brought. Like, we hadn't had a villain like that, so it was something different.
Yeah, I agree. And I think if it hadn't been, once again, I think Richie was just such an interesting element for me. That's what made him number one. But yeah, Shaw was such a great addition. If we had a villain like that every week, like not that particular villain, but a villain as creative and well done as that, this show would be rocking it. I mean,
yeah,
am I right?
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's the thing about TV. A lot of TV lately have underdeveloped villains.
Yeah.
And I like a villain that I can be like, I can see where he's coming from. I can see what made him go that way. Not just this one dimensional, oh, I'm a bad guy, I'm greedy. That's all.
Yep.
Let's see what else. Best character interactions?
It's going to be the same thing. It's Richie and John.
Yeah.
Just in general, the banter between the two, the stuff in his office really stood out to me.
Yeah, I like that office. It's messy.
It's great. And it had Johnny Rotten there. Yeah.
my professor that I was a TA under, he was a hot mess.
Yeah, well, Richie is.
Yeah, definitely. He needs like 3 TAs. Let's just be real.
He does. Well, I think he might have had a couple of them, but he ended up getting him killed by Shaw, so.
Do you have any theories or predictions for this show? Like, that's the one thing about this show. Like, it frustrates me and it fascinates me that I can never know what's coming with Constantine. It's always something different.
I have none. We're careening towards the end. We've got 2 more episodes. I'm anxious to watch this next one, but I can't imagine. You know, that might be it too. They don't have a one storyline going on. And I think that's what my only prediction is that last episode is going to lay the groundwork for a story so that we are dying to see what happens next. Not just like at the mid-season break where it's like, uh-oh, he's in peril. What's going to happen? I think we're going to get actual groundwork laid. And if we don't, I think they might be in trouble because the interest level might not be as high to continue the story.
Yeah, I was literally just about to say my one theory / prediction about the show is that I don't think season 1's going to end on a cliffhanger.
I'm not saying a cliffhanger.
I think they've had enough time to wrap it up in a neat bow. But also, it's like that one little wiggle room if they do get picked up for season 2, that jumping off point.
Yeah, I'm not saying a cliffhanger. I'm saying it's going to leave you with ideas. So it's not going to be a story that's going to wrap up neatly in a bow. It's more of a, yes, this is resolved. And you're going to walk away going, oh, what happens next?
Yeah.
That's what I think we're going to get. That's what I'm hopeful for.
That's almost what we have to get, especially if they want another. Now, see, the article that I read from, I think it was Variety. No, it was Zap to It. And they said that they think that they should rebrand the show Hellblazer. I mean, I don't know how I feel about that. I think that Constantine, it does have a negative connotation with the New 52, but it's more, I don't know, for casual fans, it doesn't feel like you have to have all this huge mythical knowledge to enjoy the show. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Well, and here's the other thing. If they go with the name Hellblazer, I actually like the name. I personally like the name better, but I think that there's more audience recognition because of the movie. And I don't think, to quote Walking Dead, that we've got tainted meat right now. I don't. I think that they could literally just call it Constantine, put it on another channel, and just make it work.
And promote the heck out of it.
Yep, rebranding it as Hellblazer. I think that the average person might know who Constantine is at this point, but has no idea what Hellblazer is.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's like where you have to rebuild from the ground up. And
then you have the niche factor. And I think, like I said, people have been like, the one thing that I'm hoping for if they do go to sci-fi is that a lot of people, what people are upset about is they don't show John Constantine's full range of sexuality. Like, that's a huge thing in the comic books. The real diehard fans really were like, okay, you're not going to do that. And all this other stuff. On top of that, I'll catch it on Netflix, you know?
Yeah, well,
instead of appointment TV.
You know what? They put it on
the marathon's out.
But they put it on Netflix or something like that, and maybe they can get into something more interesting there.
I think that they can get away with it on Sci-Fi at the 10 o'clock slot. Not explicit like How to Get Away with Murder,
Right.
scenes like with
Right,
Oliver
right.
and stuff, but they could definitely hint at it more. Make casual, over your head comments kind of
Sure,
thing.
sure.
That's all. Like I definitely think that it's worth saving and definitely worth a retool.
Sure.
Bring in, damn it, just bring in Jeff Johns or somebody. I
There
know
you go.
he's busy with the Flash, but come on, they need some fresh blood.
They do. Not tainted meat, but fresh meat.
That's all. That's my biggest hope, is that they actually bring in more people from because our DC TV universe is expanding rapidly, and we've actually had a lot of crossover with Gotham and Arrow with directors specifically, and I
Sure.
think that that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Because they do actually, between Arrow and Gotham, they share a lot of cinematography in common. So, yeah, I'm just saying, just kind of just try to bring other people in from around that we've already built up.
Well, yeah. You know what? Maybe that's really just
Or
rework the
get the
showrunner.
or no, get the dang comic book writers. That's it.
But get the right ones. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to see Neil Gaiman write it up.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that would be great.
That's all. Like I really feel like if you had him write either the season finale or the season premiere, that it would work. Like it would draw.
Oh, it sure would. I mean, they do it on Doctor Who.
Yes, they do, don't
they know who to get, and when it goes into an episode, you typically are like, oh, it's a Gaiman episode. I mean, they're talking to Guillermo del Toro about doing a Doctor Who episode. Wouldn't he be one to maybe talk to about this, or somebody from
he's directing Justice League Dark, so I think that might actually be in the works if we get a season 2.
Him working the Constantine thing. You know what? I am very much down with that idea.
See, ideas for free. I would not charge you, just to help the show give it a little edge.
You know what? I'll give you another idea for free for this show. Pick some of these up and coming, hipper horror directors, like some of the guys that worked on the first VHS film. Give them a shot.
Definitely. I definitely think it should be kind of a horror anthology for sure.
That could be. I mean, you take those guys that are doing something different visually, doing something interesting with story. Give them the sandbox of Constantine. You know what? Why am I not showrunner? What's going on here? Somebody hire me.
Hey man, write a letter to NBC. They're desperate.
Dear NBC. I know a guy.
You should make a YouTube video and write your letter out and read it.
I know a guy who has a similar name to mine, but he's not me. Picture not included. And I think you should hire him.
So good. So I guess it's time for more shameless plugs besides our fanfic creative session.
Yes. Well, let me I'm just going to throw mine out quickly because I didn't on the last one. Find past episodes of this and all of our podcasts and all of our DC podcasts and, of course, my Marvel podcast at our website, which is www.southgatemediagroup.com. And you can find us on iTunes and find us on Stitcher and Podbean and Player FM and TuneIn Radio. We're on all that stuff. And rate us and review us. It truly helps. And we have a new YouTube channel that Lilith and I were talking about earlier. Oh, Lilith, the last girl in this, her name was Lilith, by the way. We didn't even mention that.
What? Her name was Lily. It was short for Lily.
I called her Lilith.
Oh, yeah, it was short for Lillian. That's usually what most Lilies are short for.
Well, I'm going with Lilith because I'm very formal, as you can tell. So there. Go ahead. I'll let you take the floor with your social media there.
Be sure to come live tweet the season finale with us at Newcastle Crew over on Twitter. You can find me at Lilith Hellfire, live tweeting 5 days a week about a show, usually a DC show. And be sure to check out my blog, littlepopculturevulture.blogspot.com. Little is spelled Lil. It's basically a safe haven for comic book geeks and pop culture junkies.
Very good. Yeah, it's good too. And I totally encourage people to check that out and to read your reviews. So your reviews are always fun to read.
Oh, thanks.
And for me, you can follow the company at SMG Pods on Twitter, or you can follow me personally at R Southgate. And once again, if you're interested in the Marvel stuff, catch me on Nuff Said, because that is a juggernaut of a show.
It really is. I don't even like Marvel, but I occasionally listen to it. I always get tickled pink with how hard you guys go.
Well, you gotta admit, we hardly talk about Marvel on the show.
That's why I like it.
We talk about.
I think I talk about more Marvel on my DC podcast. You do. I'm joking.
We talk.
We
about
call it
an
amalgam moment.
Yeah, we talk about a lot of crap on this show. That's what we talk about.
So unless you get stuck in an alternate reality, we hope you be back here for the next episode of 112 Angels of Minister and Grace.
Whoever you are, I'm a nasty piece of work.